Can you beat Super Mario 64 if Minecraft blocks fill every level? Last year, I started my quest to see if I could beat Super Mario 64 if we treated the game like Minecraft. Each level will be buried in blocks, and Mario would have to dig out the level as he went along. Now, this is easier said than done for a lot of reasons. You have to pay attention to everything, otherwise you will get lost in a maze of 129,000 blocks per level. And once you lose your way, it's incredibly frustrating to figure out where you're at. But here we are, just after clearing Area 1, which begs the question, can we beat Area 2 in this Minecraft nightmare? Let's find out. Having a powerful machine as a gamer is pretty darn important when you're pushing games to their limits. So whether I'm editing my latest Mario nightmare, or I'm chugging through the 80 gig data bomb that is Security Breach over on my other channel Horoscoped, I need a reliable, powerful machine. And thankfully, Micro Center, the sponsor of today's video, is here to help. Micro Center is basically a tech heaven. They have desktops, laptops, monitors, TVs, components for your computer, networking stuff, basically everything you could possibly need. Shop at one of their 25 locations around the United States, or check out their online store, where you can even build your own custom PC. Their online PC builder will ensure that all your parts and components are compatible with each other. For an added fee, you can even have someone build your PC that day. If you want help deciding what to build, or if you want to talk to other tech enthusiasts, they even have a community where you can chat. So if you want to build your next dream rig, or just pick up some needed tech-related gear, click the link in the description below. For a limited time, new customers get a free 128 gig flash drive and 128 gig micro SD card. And a big thanks to Micro Center for sponsoring this video and supporting me as a creator. Okay, it's Minecraft time. Heading into the basement, I honestly did not know what to expect. Every level in this area has complicated interiors, and quite honestly, those sort of worried me. I decided to head to Lethal Lava Land first because I believe the level will be relatively simple. If you think about it, the threat of Lethal Lava Land is the lava itself. But in a Minecraft world, we don't have to dig out the lava if we don't want to. Heading into the first star, Boyle the Big Bully, I know I basically need to head diagonally across the level. I know Mario faces to the east upon entering the level if we consider north the Big Bully area, so I start tunneling to the left of the direction Mario is facing. I want to make it topside, so I start tunneling out a staircase to reach the surface. Once I get up top, I take a guess as to where one of the platforms is in the back of the level. I just need to discover one of them to know what direction I need to head to find the other. I've talked about this before, but given how the look function works with the camera in the game, we can actually peek through walls to see objects we haven't discovered yet. I see the floating metal cage, so I know I'm close. After some more digging, I then find the platform where the second star is located. I know I can just tunnel westward now that I have my bearings, and I'll eventually find the Big Bully. I wasn't sure how the fight was going to work at first, to be honest. When fighting him, I was worried he wouldn't be able to fall through the blocks, and when he bumped Mario, it had a really glitched effect. One time it pushed me through the ground. I eventually get him though, and grab our first star in the level. Onward to the second star, we take the same route to reach the back island. I end up coming down right on top of the bullies, but due to their bumping ability, they actually push me through a wall inside of a block. This made me safe from them, but this means I'm going to have to clear out the blocks in the area, because they can't be pushed through them it seems. I imagine they can fall through the blocks like the Big Bully though. Being in close quarters makes this all really annoying however. I defeat 2 and have to dig out the third. He goes down pretty fast though. The Big Bully comes out and we push him to the edge to grab our second star. Now, it might be hard to tell how long that actually took gameplay-wise, but tunneling does take a lot of time. It is not fast at all. Those 2 stars were collected in a total time span of 24 minutes. At this pace, I imagine this level will take around an hour. Normally, I do not do red coin stars because they're an absolute grind in this mod, but because all the coins are next to each other, I decided to go for it. Getting over to the Bowser puzzle isn't difficult, but I have to be super careful about collecting the right coins. For starters, I can't see the lava or the puzzle pieces, and I'm only 1 layer of blocks away from getting burned. So, in order to safely pass this area, I'm going to ground pound ledge grab each coin, by ground pounding near a grabbable surface, like the edge of a block. I can destroy the block I'm on, while grabbing the block in front of me before falling into the lava. Mario's legs will often collect the coin while doing so. We can get most of the coins safely this way until all the blocks are cleared, and then we can grab the last one to get our third star. Red Hot Log Rolling is probably the easiest star I've gotten so far. I mean, it's right in front of you. We can just build a staircase over this giant metal gate. Once we see the gate, we know we just have to hug the other side of it to land on the platform below. And then boom, we grab another star. Now the volcano is going to be interesting. So I know I have 2 stars left to grab inside the volcano. So the way I precisely find the volcano each and every time without being able to see it is pretty simple. I dig straight north until I can hear the puzzle noises. Every time a tile moves, it plays this shuffling sound. So if I can hear it, I know I'm next to the puzzle. I then hang a right and head out and around until I get near the lava. At this point, I can look down and see the rotating platform that is around the volcano. I know the platform is rounded, so based on its shape and the spin direction, I can easily determine where the center of the volcano is. I had to be careful though because I could get soft locked if I accidentally slid down the volcano against a block. I eventually find the entrance to it and start digging out the inside so I can hit the loading zone. Once inside, it's time to tackle the stars. Now, honestly, I was going for hot-footed into the volcano, but I ended up digging my staircase in the wrong direction at first. The volcano is a bit confusing, because in your mind, you feel like you're heading to the right when you go after the star normally, but you're basically going up and around, so you pass over where you once were somewhat. Not being able to see made this a bit hard, since it was difficult to pinpoint where I needed to go. So I kept climbing, and I accidentally made it to the elevator star first. Heading back into the volcano, this time I didn't get lost. I tunneled straight up until I eventually made it topside. The level geometry actually makes this pretty easy, because just like the big penguin slide, the wall juts out to where the star is. So you just have to run to the lava fall since you know the star is to the right of it, and then you look for the top of the wall where the right angle is. Once you find it, you just dig down to collect your prize. And with that, we grabbed 6 additional stars in Lethal Lava Land, bringing our total count to 22 after adding them to the stars we got in Area 1. Off to Shifting Sandland, and off to more trouble than I thought it would be. We're hunting ourselves a bird. So basically, this whole level involves you tunneling straight to the pyramid each and every time. Everything revolves around the structure. And even though the path to get to it is only an L shape, it's not fun at all. You'll see why in just a few seconds. The first time I tunnel out, I'm really taking my time so I can memorize the route for future runs, and I make some good progress as I spot some key objects within the blocks. But then I see it. I'm in the middle of my block fortress, and I can see a tornado generating nearby. I honestly hadn't really given it that much thought, but it was this one obstacle that makes this a nightmare. So, watch what happens when I get hit. Mario turns into a saw blade and destroys every surface he touches. To make things worse, when Mario is in rotation mode, he picks up momentum every time he destroys a block and bounces off of it. What you're left with is a blurry mess of Mario, warping all over the place, destroying all the tunnels you made. You now have no idea what direction is what, so you're lost. And if you don't run, the tornado will grab you again. I can't stress this enough. Knowing where you are at and what direction you are heading is everything in this mod. As soon as you lose that, it's game over. You'll spend 15 minutes just trying to figure out where you are. Because the real kicker for this tornado is that because of all the crazy momentum behind Mario, he'll actually warp through walls. So you'll end up in a totally new cave system that wasn't part of your route before. At that point, you might as well give up because it'll be faster to redig your entire tunnel. Eventually, I routed around the tornado and got topside out of desperation. I knew I was near the pyramid though, as I saw it before, so I started digging down where I knew the bird typically flew. It was very strange to look down and see the bird and star trapped within a box though. That was a new one. I cleared away a ton of blocks so I could make my way directly on top of the bird, and then with a single ground pound, I broke the block and hit the bird at the same time. Now I just had to tunnel down to the ground and get my prize. The first star is done, and I already hate my life. So I saddle up for star 2 and make my way over to shining atop the pyramid. My routing takes me directly there, and I successfully avoid the tornado. But dealing with a fly guy indoors should be illegal. Just bury my body in the sand. Back on top of the pyramid, I realized something kind of strange. So I'm here for star 2, but I noticed that due to all the overlapping box collision, I can actually clip inside the top of the pyramid. I'm going to see if I can use this to my advantage later on. I then tunnel down and around to grab the second star, and re-enter the level. Rinse and repeat, I managed to make it through the state of Oklahoma without running into a net 5, and I find myself at the top of the pyramid. But the joke's on me. No matter how I clear out the blocks here, attempting to enter the pyramid from the top without actually blowing up the top makes it so Mario gets infinite smashed. When this happens, the game lingers for a moment before unloading Mario and killing him instantly. The blocks claim Mario's life yet again. So we can't go up top, so instead we go in the front. The advantage to being up top would be that every star was just a straight dig down. All 3 stars are basically all aligned to a vertical line, or at least where you need to be to get to them. But regardless, we start tunneling upwards in the pyramid. It's pretty uneventful, and we just need to watch out for things that can smash us. We grab the star, and then rinse and repeat. Back inside now, after rage quitting to tornadoes twice, it is time to face off against Iraq. We basically punch straight forward in a line until we see the checkered tiles of his chamber in front of us. We then dig around and start unearthing his tomb. I totally felt like an archaeologist digging at all this debris, but something strange happened. So normally there's a trigger for Iraq that unloads the outer part of the pyramid and then loads him and his interior area in. But for some reason, entering this area was triggering an out-of-bounds kill on Mario. Basically instant death with Mario's hat vanishing. I died several times. Eventually, I dug around this death area, but I found myself in Iraq's unloaded chamber, meaning that all around me was death. The boss didn't load because I skipped the trigger, but I skipped the trigger because the trigger was killing me. Now having the opportunity to clear out all the blocks from this side, I exited the tunnel in reverse, which I think messed things up. I was entering while exiting, and the game deleted all the blocks in the map. But this was the only way I could get the Iraq fight to take place without getting instantly killed. So I took out the boss and collected my star. Heading back inside, we need to go back to the top of the pyramid and uncover where the waterfall of sand is. This basically guides us to each platform needed for pyramid puzzle. We then drill down and touch each platform before ending up within the river of sand. This river guides us to the rest of the secret locations. So all we have to do is stand still and destroy the boxes in our way. It eventually takes us to the star, and we leave the red coin star behind as a last-ditch effort in case we need it. Also, because red coin Minecraft stars are awful. Truly awful. 5 stars to our name, and we roll out with 27 in our total collection. At this point, I'm honestly a bit nervous. Hazy Maze Cave is up next, and I'm really worried that this level is going to be a nightmare. Levels that are open areas are way easier to navigate in Minecraft mode, because you aren't super limited in your travel options. If the rooms are boxed in like Hazy Maze Cave, you basically need to carve your way out. There's also a lot of skips you can normally do in Hazy Maze Cave, but they won't work here. I'll explain why soon. Hazy Maze Cave is actually very large, and each room tends to load and unload blocks. I talked to Toad outside the entrance to get myself a star, and then I enter the level. Starting off, we head straight for the Rolling Rocks room. The giant pit in the middle of the room is completely filled in, so we can just tunnel straight across. I try my best to go up top because I want to avoid the giant rocks, but once I make it over there, I realize I have a problem. The giant falling rocks get stopped by the blocks, but they never stop rolling, so they deflect off the blocks and get trapped. They get stuck and randomly clip through blocks, and overall, it's a terrifying experience because you never know when you're going to get destroyed by them. Because the rocks were heading in completely random directions, it was really confusing me in terms of what direction was what. I knew I was looking for the low alcove in the level geometry, and I eventually found it. I then uncovered the box and grabbed my first star. Heading back into the level, we're going for an even simpler star. We retrace our steps into the room for the pit, and we just go topside. I know I'm looking for a little floating island, and I eventually see it through the blocks. I recognize the side of it, and then make my way through the blocks towards it. Amazing emergency exit is in our collection, and we now embark on the more difficult challenges. So there's 3 stars and the metal cap still on the left side of the cave, from a position standpoint. So we head over through the Rolling Rock room, but this is where things get broken. My 10,000 IQ brain was thinking that we can simply go out of bounds through the ceiling, and tunnel down to the areas we need. Like for example, skipping past the toxic maze and just getting a star. However, due to the way the blocks work, and due to technically being out of bounds, Mario just unloads in certain areas. The blocks allow him to go past places he normally can't, because there's so much conflicting collision faces all interacting at once. But once he interacts with an object beyond that point, Mario instantly dies. Speedrunners can normally jump through the ceiling to get through the level faster, or get pushed through the floor by the elevator, but we can't do these things. My dreams of cheesing this star were shattered. I mean, I tried everything to get out of bounds to get around it, but alas, I painstakingly tunneled to the elevator and started my descent. I was worried about getting smashed to death by the elevator clipping through the blocks, so I got off it and started digging down beside it. When I got to the underground lake, I knew the island was in the dead center, so I used the terrain under the water to help me determine the position of the island. I also saw dories swimming down below, which was terrifying. I wanted to make sure I didn't fall into the water though, because there would be no way to get out of it effectively. Or so I thought at the time. I approached the island, but I had to be careful to not get soft locked on the slopes. Which I did. Whoops! Well, this sucks. Like I said, when approaching this, it's better to go up over the slopes without exposing them, so you know you are safe for sure. We then grab Swimming Beast in the Cavern for our 3rd star. But this is where the true struggle begins. So the major problem with Hazy Maze Cave is that the object count gets really high because every time you punch a block, you're spawning like 40 blocks out of bounds that you just run by. So making my way back down again, I was really worried about the block count. I'm an idiot though and forgot to record for like 15 minutes, but what I realized was that the water was block free. Because it was so deep in the level, it was outside of the spawn radius. So I swam over to the caged off door that you need the metal cap to hit. Even at this point, my block count was really high. I didn't have the metal cap either, but Mario 64 enthusiasts will know that Mario just needs to fall from a high enough drop to be able to hit the switch without the metal cap. So I built myself a block tower and carved out the inside. I then dropped from the top and smashed against the switch, opening the door. But something unexpected happened. You see, when you go between areas in Hazy Maze Cave, the previous room unloads and the next room loads in. But the problem with this is that so does the block clusters tied to those regions. So when I went to go through the door, I couldn't at all. No matter what I did, I was stuck. It was like I was jumping against an out-of-bounds area, unable to hit the loading zone for the room. And I couldn't advance forward because behind the out-of-bounds region were tons of blocks. I couldn't break the blocks by punching, and I couldn't jump over them either. I was screwed. I figured I'd make the best of it though, and I started making my way over to the metal cap area. However, my troubles certainly were not over. After making my way through the door, I realized this entire area was broken. The walls didn't have collision, and parts of the floor lacked it too. If I didn't grab the edge of a block when going through the door, I'd instantly die, and the game would crash at the same time. Talk about a double whammy death. Making my way into the hallway was futile too. No matter what I did, the game would crash when it got near the room at the end of the hallway that has the warp. And I tried everything. Clipping through the walls, dropping down from the ceiling, coming out of the floor, all of it resulted in me dying, and the game crashing. The game was chugging too because of the block count. This wasn't because I didn't maintain a proper block count though. It was because the object counter was registering other areas randomly as well. And sometimes a spike would occur that would push it over the max object limit, bricking the game. So I couldn't even get the metal cap. That means Jolly Roger Bay is a bust. I knew that attempting to go through the toxic maze and grabbing the star would be a waste of time, because the journey there would require too many objects to be spawned. The game would crash, and taking shortcuts would not work, because I'd get instant killed out of bounds. At this point, I threw in the towel for Hazy Maze Cave. Worst case scenario, we try for the blasted red coins since they are all in one room. But for now, we leave with 3 stars, bringing our total to 31, since Toad gave us one as well. Not too happy about that considering I spent well over 2 hours in Hazy Maze Cave trying all sorts of different routes. Back in the castle, I began clearing out the basement. I heard Mips, but I honestly think the bunny was pushed out of bounds by the blocks because I couldn't find them anywhere, even after carving out the hallways. I make my way over to drain the moat in the basement, and then realize that I won't be able to. There's no way to get out of bounds to bypass having to swim down the water, so I can't hit the switches that open up Vanish Cap. And with no way to break the underwater blocks outside, that means Vanish Cap and its level are off limits. Quite a rough patch we've hit. I decided to tackle Big Boo's haunt next, and I began excavating the long hallway to the courtyard. It's kinda weird digging out the El Israel 2401 monument out of the blocks. It just hits different, you know? I eventually find the Boo with the cage, and I enter the level. Lucky for us, in Big Boo's haunt, Mario spawns facing forward, so we just need to head straight to get to the mansion. We're going for Big Boo on the balcony first, mainly because I'm scared of level interiors, so we dig a tower upwards to reach the balcony. Big Boo is out for blood though, and it's quite formidable when you can't see him inside the blocks. The only thing we can do is ground pound in place to hit him, but at the same time, we destroy our foundation, and we have to reset our position after an attack. He's eventually beaten, and we make our way to the top of the mansion for the star. Next up, we're going on a ghost hunt inside the mansion. This star ended up being easier than I thought because of the way the blocks load within the mansion. I consider myself pretty lucky, and we can travel around killing the Boos in each exterior room without too much trouble. We then clobber Big Boo and get our second star. Into the haunted house we go. We're heading into the mad piano room so we can bypass the haunted library in this place. We can build ourselves a block staircase around the sleeping piano and make our way up to the balcony that has the star. Entering the level yet again, which is quite tedious since we have to dig our way to the Boo every time and then figure out where the cage went, but entering the level again, we're going to enter the house, hang a right, and drop down to the basement. Once we get down there, we need to feel our way around the perimeter of the merry-go-round's exterior until we find the door. Once inside, things aren't too bad. The blocks prevent us from spinning around, and fighting all the Boos in the room is a simple task. Our 4th star is soon ours. But now we have a problem. So, because we don't have Vanish Cap, we can't actually enter the room with a giant Mr. Eye. I made my way up to the room and was really hoping I could use some faulty block collision to clip through the walls, but the attic, for some reason, lacks blocks completely. I'm not sure why this occurs, but it actually messed up what I was going to attempt. There's no way we can get inside, besides hyperspeed inhuman wall kicks, so I eventually give up. So we leave the level with 4 stars, bringing our total to 35. We're halfway to the 70 stars needed to beat the game, but quite honestly, we've reached the most terrifying part of this run. This can make or break everything, and I'm feeling like it isn't going to go well. Starting off, trying to open the 30-star door is a chore because the blocks inside are stopping Mario from entering. I have to spam the A button to hopefully get inside a block because my punches won't break them, and I eventually get pushed inside of one. We then head into Dire Docks. So remember, Bowser in the Fire Sea is behind the entrance to Dire Docks, and we need the first star to move the level portal backwards. But Dire Docks is a big water pit, and we can't dig through blocks underwater. I start off trying to go topside in hopes that I can go out of bounds and clip into the tunnel down below. There's a loading zone in the underwater tunnel that would unload the blocks in Area 1 and put them in Area 2. I'm hoping I can reach that area, or at least linger nearby it out of bounds so the second half of the map loads. But just like Hazy Maze Cave, no matter what I do, Mario triggers out of bounds deaths. I can't go out and down, and I can't go into the water. So honestly, I'm really sweating at this point. Is the run over? Is this really the end? Well, maybe not. So in a previous video where we had thousands of bombs exploding in Hazy Maze Cave, I talked about how the doors in the cave became inactive to Mario's touch. This was potentially because they had reached their maximum object interactive limit, because while Mario was trying to open the door from the front, hundreds of bomb explosions were happening behind the door. This is actually why in this Minecraft run for Hazy Maze Cave, the doors were removed in the cave as a preemptive attempt to prevent this. It might have had the opposite effect though. Anyways, those explosions and bombs were interacting with the door so often that Mario never had a chance to trigger the door animation, and this whole mechanic is actually what saves this run, at least in some ways. So throughout this whole run, I've had issues entering some levels because of all the blocks passing through the painting area. And what's amazing is that if we shatter a large block into tons of smaller ones, and then only carve out one block on the edge of the Dire Docks portal, we can actually pass through it without triggering the full warp. My best guess as to why this happens is similar to that door situation I just described. But it could also be due to the collision for the game being adapted to accommodate the insane amount of blocks. Either way, this silly thing saves our run. Praise the Lord of the Blocks. Mario can finish his darn quest. After entering Bowser in the Fire Sea, we just dig straight up to the surface. The top of the level is poking out, so we just jump up top and snag ourselves an extra life. We then head into the Bowser fight, and good grief, this fight is insane. So, you know how Bowser always jumps to the start of this fight once his dialogue finishes? That jump will hit Mario 3 times, killing him before the fight even really starts. The blocks stay still, but the floor forces Mario up into them, which causes him to get crushed. And, as the stage rocks back and forth, we take repeated crush damage. Talk about using your strongest attack first, Sans. The only way to survive this is to climb as fast as you can while taking damage. You better dig like the Minecraft god you are, because if you don't, it's game over. Regardless of what you do, you pretty much only escape with 2 health left, which is perfect considering Bowser can summon deadly earthquakes, teleport, and shoot fire through blocks. Wow, isn't that great? I got way above the stage, but I had to keep stopping and listening to make sure Bowser didn't unload himself, like he did in Bowser in the Dark World when he jumped off the level. I eventually came back using Bowser's footsteps as my radar, and I found myself digging out a bomb as Bowser got stuck above me. At this range, Bowser does not jump, which is a blessing, but he doesn't give us much wiggle room to attack. We essentially have to lure him to one side and then jump up by his tail while he's starting his triple fire attack. With Bowser in hand, we then offer him up to our Bomb Lord, and Area 2 comes to a close. Man, I'm gonna be honest, this is getting more difficult than I thought it would be. We have 35 stars in the key to Area 3, but we've been through a lot of levels already. The fear of having to attempt red coin stars is becoming a little too real. But I suppose we'll have to see what happens next. I hope you enjoyed this new Minecraft adventure, and I'll see you all in Area 3 when I dig my way through there. Cheers!